Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Only God Forgives. Is the new film from Nicholas Winding Refn, Julian, Ryan Gosling's character, whose brother has murdered and raped a 16-year-old girl, and he has been sent by his mother, played by Kristen Scott Thomas, to kill the guy who has killed his brother after he has done this horrible rape and murder of this young girl. He realizes it's a larger than that and kind of this conflicting, morally ambiguous area where an ex-cop let the man whose daughter his brother killed kill his brother as a kind of a way of revenge, and he has to go after this cop and do as his evil, kind of forceful mother tells him to in this very strange, bizarre art revenge movie. Only God Forgives, it's very different kind of a movie than I think a lot of people are expecting, and I've noticed the reactions are really strong and kind of odd. And I think because this kind of movie, it's very much an art film and it's very morally ambiguous. There's a lot of things written about how this violence isn't entirely justified. Looking at the justification of a lot of violence is kind of hard in itself. Why would you get revenge really on this cop? Because his brother was kind of a shithead in itself, and it's like the only one that seems justified under kind of a strange New Testament justifiable violence way is the first murder of his brother. The other murders are just kind of an endless stream of revenge, eye for an eye. Don't feel like they make a lot of sense, really. It's a lot of Winding Refn's commenting on violence, and the way he shows violence so gory and hard to watch for some people and so extreme isn't making violence look cool and sexy. And when you look at Drive, his previous film, which I think the reason Drive is brought up is because that's how most people know Nicholas Winding Refn. I haven't seen enough of his filmography, unfortunately, so that's mainly how I know him, but also because that was kind of his English language breakthrough, kind of why a lot of people cared about him. Some people hated that film because there wasn't enough talking, and this film is an even more extreme to it. I think because that film showed he could be a, I guess, mainstream director, and this film is kind of unabashedly going like, no, I'm going to go in the opposite direction and make an art movie. Nicholas Winding Refn has kind of done one of the few ballsy moves in a filmography I've seen in a while. Not only is he making such a weird arty film that's not audience friendly, not digestible. I mean, Drive wasn't exactly a digestible movie the way an Avengers is or something, but Only God Forgives just throws that in your face. It's like, well, I don't want to be released in a lot of theaters. I mean, it kind of actually, I was wondering, why would a movie with, you know, Ryan Gosling and directed by Nicholas Winding Refn get such a small release? But after I saw it, I was like, there was really no other way to release this movie. I mean, I can't imagine the disaster this thing would have been if you release it in a mainstream multiplex, because I don't think the multiplex audience is ready for this kind of a movie intellectually at all. Because it's using metaphors, because there's a lot to read into it, it's not the kind of easy to take down movie. This is such a quiet movie. It almost plays like a juxtaposition to Drive in an interesting way, because Drive is like loud. You know, Drive has a cool soundtrack. Drive, when they're staring at each other, you got music to listen to, you got something to do. And Only God Forgives does the art movie thing where it's like, well, let's let you think about this imagery and think about what it means. And in some of the most beautiful cinematography I've seen this year, shot by Larry Smith. Winding Refn is one of those few directors who really knows how to use the camera very well. The lighting in this movie is stark. It feels like almost like primary colors, but also very distinct in its color palette. Like, if it's going to be yellow, it's going to be extreme yellow. Like, if it's going to be red, it's going to be extreme red. An interesting kind of jarring visual quality to that I think just makes this film very striking. The camera does not move. Like, even in pans, it feels very still. We're so obsessed with handheld cinematography now, and it's gotten so boring, and you're just sacrificing good pacing and staging, which isn't really there. That's why they do it. And in this film, it's like all the pacing and staging are masterfully plotted out, and so that it almost looks like still photography in a weird way, because you're just stuck in it. To have a movie where the main character, or the movie star, Julian, played by Ryan Gosling, is just mostly watching this prostitute masturbate is kind of his close relationship. It's a bizarre movie, it's a strange movie. It definitely, I think, shows very Lynchian influence. A lot of people are like, oh, it means this, this, and this, and that's the end of the story. I kind of want to rewatch this movie. I wish I had spent maybe a couple more times watching it, because there are some scenes that really grab me. There's some scenes that metaphorically, what they're doing, grab me. It grabs me in a lot of different ways. It's just a very daring movie, and then daring in a way that's not necessarily sexy and cool. And at a time, I think, where everybody has to be the smartest motherfucker in the room, Nicolas Winding Refn found a way to outsmart everybody by making like this kind of colder, cooler art movie. He kind of intellectually came up with a smart way to continue his filmography rather than financially continue his filmography. If this is angering people, I almost look at it as maybe he succeeded in what he's doing. You know, that he is almost like toying with the film-going world. If they're going to like him, he doesn't want that to continue in such a pure way. As a film, I think it's a very good film. I actually don't enjoy it as much as Drive, but I still think it's a great movie. It's really not for everyone, and I think the people who don't get it will maybe think it's horrible because of the way the staging is, because of the way the violence is, because it's not cool, because it's not fun, because it's a little more meditative and contemplative, and maybe too meditative and contemplative for a mainstream audience. A lot of people say it's emotionalist. I don't know if it is emotionalist. It's very just bizarre and strange, and Winding Refn, in an interview I watched today, he said that if Drive is like cocaine, then Only God Forgives is like acid. That's probably one of the best ways to explain them. He seems to be getting away from realism. He seems to like to want to play in this stylized world, and he went even more stylized at this time. People are like, oh, there's not a lot of substance in this. I don't think that's really true. I think the metaphors represent real things about the story in certain aspects. I don't think they represent nothing, and acting like this is what it's bringing to you is what you're supposed to read in a straightforward manner. I would think you need to understand art a lot better to maybe understand this movie, because this isn't something you need to be taking in at face value. Ryan Gosling puts his star power out there on a limb, doing this kind of lifeless almost performance of this passive guy, and it's not charismatic. And to kind of go against the charisma that he's built up and built this cult around himself is kind of a lot more daring. There's a lot of daringness in this. I love Kristen Scott Thomas in this film. I've never seen her like this before. She's probably the only one I'd really categorize as charismatic in this movie, but charismatically evil. I mean, charismatically terrible. I mean, she's definitely one of cinema's most evil mothers I've ever seen. She's just like one of those characters you love to hate almost, you know, but she embodies it so well. The cop in this film, whose name I'm going to butcher, Vidya Panzaringar, I think, he is kind of doing like the silent but deadly role, almost the self-assured guy that Ryan Gosling plays. And this film doesn't really make Americans look very good, especially Kristen Scott Thomas's character, who looks like a very empowered, entitled American. This sense of entitlement, but he feels more like the Drive character than anyone else in this film. His cool, calm, like silent way of killing people. The way Winding Refn shot him in this film, every shot is just so expertly planned out in a very Kubrick way, and everything with that actor was just so expertly shot. Like, he just looked incredibly stunning in each of his shots, and he seemed to be able to understand how the camera was working around him in a strange way. Like, he seemed such calm and seemed complacent in what he was doing, but also seemed to understand how it all wrapped up within him. I personally think this is one of the smarter art movies this year. It's not one of my favorites. I don't love it, but I don't think it's a film that I can watch once and go, oh gee, I totally get this. I'm going to watch it again. Actually, I think I'll probably watch it again soon, and I'd like to watch it a couple of times, because I don't think this is a film you're going to get on the first viewing. I don't think it's a film you're going to get maybe even on the second viewing, and it's a deeper, smarter, intensive film than you really think it is. It's an artier movie, and it's like he went in the artier direction more than the mainstream direction. This is definitely more artistically braver than I've seen from a lot of people and a lot of directors, and I highly respect it for it, but I also really love it as a movie. And I think it's a really good movie, but it's really different. So I'm going to do a spoiler section because I wanted to talk about the ending. So if you haven't seen Only God Forgives, please stop watching. It seems to be the common thing online that the interpretation is that the cop is God, the mom is the devil, and Julian is the people, is man, I guess. I feel like that's too easy. Maybe that's what it is. Fine, whatever. I get that the God sense from the cop. I look at it as not as intensely metaphorical as that, but I do think the end shot, him cutting off Gosling's hands, his hands are dirty because he knows, like, his brother, he was in a dirty business. He was in with his brother, and what he was doing before, when you see that thing with his brother where they throw the fight, it's to show like his brother and him were in dirty business, and he kind of like let his brother behave this way and didn't really do anything about it, and he's a passive person and he let his hands get dirty. And then when his mother is dead, and has probably one of the lamer metaphors in the film where he kind of goes into her womb, which is a bit much, but I think when he cuts off his hands, it's to be like his drug dealing, his whole business thing, it's over. He's cutting that off. You know, I don't know if he's sending him back to America. This isn't really saying that, but he's definitely saying, like, you're cut off from this now. You've got to stop. You know, I'm the cop. I'm the God, supposedly, I guess. And this has to end. And that's what I feel like that means. But, you know, the thing about this film is I would like to watch it again and watch it a couple more times and really decipher it. And to me, that's an interesting thing and a cool thing. And that definitely shows my love for it, but also shows my almost puzzlement as well. One of the things about this movie is it's not a fun movie. You know, it's an artier, kind of slower, inquisitive movie, and that's a different experience. So I think, you know, if you saw it driving, you're like, oh, that's really cool, I want to have the jacket because it's cool, this isn't the same kind of experience. And I like it when directors give you different kinds of experience. So if you have seen Only God Forgives and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.